Why that just because she was in Suits, that was how she met Marcus Anderson in Canada. It continues, and like I said, we saw Marcus Anderson popping up on her Instagram feed. Now, people have asked me, were they in a relationship? And I looked into that very, very deeply.
Because everybody's so interested in Meghan. And this is the other one where she looks, honestly, guys, let me see if it goes back to her. Hold on.
Because seriously, everyone's obsessed with Meghan, right? And this is the one that just broke the internet. You've got to see it. Let me rewind that moment for you. Yeah, right there. You see, Prince Harry honestly believed he'd married his forever love, the woman of his dreams, the fairy tale ending after all those years of chaos. But what if, just what if, Harry wasn't the prince in a love story, but just another name on Meghan's Soho House guest list? The irony? It's almost cinematic.
Planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, which she totally was. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
It all started so casually. Just a quiet night in Montecito, the kind of calm that money can't buy. Harry's scrolling through old archives, killing time, probably sipping tea. But then, boom. One curious click changed everything. What he stumbled upon that night didn't just raise questions, it shattered his world.
Which proves, and let me use that word again, which proves she was on a manhunt, not just for a famous Brit, not just for a British royal, but for Prince Harry himself.
It was just a photo at first, a simple, harmless photo, or so he thought. Meghan Markle, glowing, flawless, radiant on a yacht drenched in Mediterranean sunlight. But Harry wasn't looking at her smile. Oh no. His eyes kept drifting back to something else, something tiny but impossible to ignore. A navy blue canvas bag, stamped in gold letters, Soho House. That was the moment his stomach dropped.
People. And I couldn't see that Marcus Anderson would necessarily meet her. And I doubted that she would have the cachet to be at the opening night party. But these were just all my own ideas, and I couldn't really prove anything, but it niggled at me.
According to people very close to the situation, Harry zoomed in on that logo over and over again until his hands literally shook. The thought wouldn't leave him. What was Meghan doing there before we even met? That yacht wasn't just any glamorous getaway. It was the elite event of the Soho House network, a members-only club that's practically a breeding ground for the rich, the famous, and the power-hungry. A place where exclusivity and influence blend like champagne and secrets.
That Meghan Markle did plan this, but what is new in terms of Megyn Kelly's revelation is that it is Trevor Engelson.
But what truly sent chills down Harry's spine wasn't the photo itself. It was what it meant. If Meghan had been at that yacht party, that meant she already had access to the upper echelon. The exact same social circles Harry once thought she'd entered because of him. Everything he believed about their story suddenly didn't add up.
At me. And so I went for a bit of a deep dive, and I found the Toronto Life social pages.
And of course, every fairy tale needs a puppeteer. In this one, all fingers started pointing at Marcus Anderson, the charming, well-connected Soho House executive from Toronto. Marcus wasn't just a friend, he was the friend. Meghan's rock, her insider, the man described by sources as the fixer, the guy who knew how to make the right people meet at the right time. And suddenly, Harry's life started to look less like destiny and more like design.
And it was very interesting to see who they mentioned in that column. Now, I would assume that if the cast from Suits were invited to that opening night founding members party.
To the public, Marcus was just that handsome guest at their royal wedding, raising a glass with grace. But to Harry, oh, he was something else entirely. He became the symbol of everything that now felt staged. Whispers began to surface that long before Meghan's so-called blind date with Harry, Marcus had already been orchestrating her ascent, placing her in the orbit of British elites, the kind of circles that brush up against royalty without even trying. And Harry, he was starting to wonder if he'd been part of the plan all along.
Trevor Engelson, via an intermediary who has revealed this story.
As Harry started piecing timelines together, what once looked like coincidences began to feel like choreography. The same faces, the same parties, the same names cropping up in both their lives long before they were Harry and Meghan. And that's when it hit him. Maybe Meghan hadn't stumbled into his world at all. Maybe she'd been guided there. Because the yacht photo? It wasn't just one picture. Once he started digging, Harry found more. Photos of Meghan laughing at rooftop bars in Barcelona, chatting with businessmen in Istanbul. attending charity galas that just happened to overlap with his own events. Coincidence? The internet didn't think so.
Just from that opening night party at Soho House without Corey being on her arm. I think he was vital to future dinner parties.
Online detectives went wild. Reddit threads exploded overnight. Fans started connecting dots faster than tabloids could print headlines. One viral thread literally mapped out Meghan's Soho House appearances right alongside Harry's public engagements. The overlap was shocking, like watching two puzzle pieces slide perfectly into place. One post summed it up brutally. She wasn't stumbling into his world. She was rehearsing for it. And honestly, people couldn't stop talking.
Nights at his restaurant as his girlfriend. I just don't think she would have the chops.
Then came the big one, the Toronto Soho House opening night, the holy grail of exclusivity. It wasn't just a party, it was the party. A glittering sea of influencers, actors, CEOs, and global elites all sipping cocktails under dim gold light. And guess who was there years before she ever met Harry? Meghan Markle, smiling, radiant, mingling with the same faces who'd later show up at royal fundraisers and palace charity events. Insiders whispered that Harry used to think he introduced Meghan to that world, but now it looked like she'd already conquered it. The deeper he looked, the uglier it got. The fairy tale he'd believed in started to look like a ladder. Each connection, each friendship, each party, another rung in a climb to the very top. People close to the couple said it was like watching a man possessed. He turned their Montecito home office into what insiders called a scene from a thriller. Walls covered in photos, printouts, red strings connecting names, events, and guest lists. He wasn't sleeping. Staff whispered he was unraveling, desperate for answers that kept leading back to one person, Marcus Anderson. And when you think about it, it all starts making a twisted kind of sense. Because before the tiaras, before the royal titles, before the Netflix deals, there was Soho House, there was Marcus, and maybe, just maybe, there was a plan. Harry's obsession turned into compulsion. He was no longer just curious, he was consumed. Palace insiders say he started locking himself away for hours, sometimes overnight, with nothing but his laptop and a wall full of photos. Staff whispered it looked like a detective movie. Red strings, scribbled notes, printed guest lists. He wanted answers. He wanted the truth. He started asking invasive questions. Who had Meghan met in Los Angeles before 2016? Who introduced her to the high-profile donors, the CEOs, the film producers? And every single time, every trail of names circled back to one man, Marcus Anderson. People close to Harry said it was heartbreaking to watch. This wasn't the carefree prince anymore. This was a man cracking open his own fairy tale, realizing it might have been written by someone else. And then came the memory that broke him, an old voicemail from his brother William, one he'd ignored years ago. William's voice sounded calm, careful, but laced with warning. Palace security apparently had flagged Marcus Anderson years before. A social strategist, they called him, a man who specialized in placing ambitious women into elite networks. Back then, Harry had brushed it off. William's just jealous, he'd told friends. But now, hearing that message again, knowing everything he'd uncovered, it hit differently. It landed like a delayed explosion. William had seen it coming, and Harry, the man who thought love had saved him, had walked right into the trap. The tabloids pounced on the story like sharks in bloodied water. Headlines screamed, "Was Harry chosen, not chased?" Side-by-side photos of Meghan at Soho House events and later at royal functions spread everywhere, dissected like evidence in a courtroom of public opinion. Commentators compared Harry's situation to old Hollywood, where starlets were introduced to moguls by their handlers. Behind the glitz, people started whispering one brutal question. Was Meghan's marriage to Harry her ultimate power move? Hollywood insiders began spilling. They called it the handler culture. A silent network of fixers who pair the ambitious with the powerful, building connections, ensuring exposure, crafting the perfect social climb. And guess whose name kept surfacing again? Marcus Anderson. And if Meghan's rise looked too perfect, too smooth, maybe that's because it was. Those close to Harry started noticing changes. He was restless, paranoid. He'd pace for hours, muttering about timelines, dates, people. Friends tried to calm him down, but some whispered privately, "He's not paranoid. He's finally waking up." Then came the financial questions, and that's when things turned icy. Harry began wondering, how did Meghan afford such an extravagant lifestyle before they met? The designer clothes, the international travel, the private memberships? Her suit's salary was decent, sure, but it didn't explain the luxury. The private villas, the Soho House membership that cost more than most people's rent? That's when an insider from Toronto dropped a chilling bombshell. Meghan's Soho House memberships? They weren't paid for by her. They were comped, courtesy of Marcus Anderson, through corporate accounts. It wasn't charity, it was investment. A viral TikTok broke it down in brutal math. Global Soho House membership, £1,500 a year. But when you add up private jets, designer wardrobes, and event invites, the real cost, nearly $80,000 a year. That's not a lifestyle. That's strategy. The internet was ruthless. One caption summed it up. You don't climb that high that fast unless someone's holding the ladder steady. And in Meghan's case, that ladder had a name. Marcus Anderson. One sleepless night, Harry decided to go through their wedding guest list. And that's when his heart practically stopped. Out of the 200 guests invited by Meghan, more than 60 had ties to Soho House. Executives, members, founders, influencers. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It looked like a summit. The very people who'd once opened doors for Meghan were now celebrating at the event that was supposed to be the most personal day of his life. The realization hit him like ice water. Their wedding hadn't been the romantic union of two souls. It was the victory lap of a network. Online, fans didn't hold back. It wasn't a wedding, one viral tweet read. It was a graduation ceremony. And for Harry, that line cut deep. Because that's exactly how it felt. The confrontation came in silence. One night in their Montecito kitchen, Harry finally asked the question that had been burning a hole in his chest. Are you still in contact with Marcus Anderson? Witnesses say Meghan froze. Her expression went cold, her face unreadable. He's my friend, she said simply. Of course, I talk to him occasionally. That was it. No denial, no emotion, just words. Flat and final. Harry stood there, silent, staring at her. Because sometimes it's not what someone says that breaks you. It's how easily they say it. Online, fans dubbed it the Montecito standoff. Memes, tweets, headlines, and it was everywhere. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. When she won't deny it, that's your answer. And that was the night the fairy tale officially died. After that, something inside Harry snapped. His friend said he became distant, almost obsessive. He started monitoring Meghan's meetings, asking for names, times, details. At one point, he even checked her phone and found encrypted apps she couldn't explain. Meghan called it paranoia, but Harry called it patterns, because the same names from the Soho House days kept reappearing in her orbit. At business meetings, brand deals, private events, the same people a decade later still hovering around. The world began to split. Half pitied Harry, seeing him as a man betrayed by the person he loved most. The other half mocked him, calling him naive, blind. But the memes? Oh, they were brutal. When your fairy tale turns into a LinkedIn strategy. Ouch! And yet, behind all the jokes, one painful truth lingered. Harry wasn't just losing Meghan, he was losing himself. By autumn, insiders described him as haunted. They said he kept referring to Marcus Anderson as the shadow in the room. No matter what he did, he couldn't escape that name. Every photo, every connection, every event, it all led back to Marcus. And the world began to take notice. Whispers started circulating through Hollywood PR circles. Meghan had become a brand risk. Studios were allegedly monitoring her public sentiment, worried that the rumors of manipulation might taint their image. Even the giants, Netflix, Spotify, reportedly began to pull back. The fairy tale brand they'd once sold to millions was starting to look like a carefully spun illusion. Across the Atlantic, royal commentators couldn't help but compare it all to history. Princes manipulated, queens misunderstood, empires built on illusion. And William's warning, people started calling it prophetic, because maybe he wasn't jealous after all, maybe he just knew. And now, years later, his brother was living out the very downfall he tried to prevent. For Harry, the choice became impossible. Does he admit his family was right? Or does he keep defending the woman who may have played him like a royal chess piece? In the quiet halls of Montecito, the prince who once dreamed of love now walks alone. The laughter is gone. The house feels hollow. Because if Marcus Anderson is still taking Meghan's calls, then this story? Oh, it's far from over. The only question left is the one that haunts him every night. Was he the player, or was he always the prize? Because in the world of private clubs, hidden fixers, and royal ambitions, love stories aren't written in ink. They're drafted on guest lists. And Harry's heartbreak? It's just the beginning of the next chapter.